Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Football is back. I am going to keep saying this until we get to week 1, but football is literally back. Tomorrow, Thursday, the Hall of Fame game is happening, the first preseason game of the year. Is anyone actually playing in this game? No. It is what it is. If you're a fan of the NFL, I don't mind watching the backups and the young players play and fighting for their spots because we all know what the vets are going to do. The vets are good. Would it have been nice to see Aaron Rodgers at least go one drive for the Jets? I'm sure he will at some point this offseason, but Browns-Jets is that game. We'll get to see Zach Wilson battle Kellen Mond. Yeah, not much really else to say about that, but we get actual live NFL football this week, and it is very exciting. This week's episode, we are finally getting to the division breakdowns and previews, starting with the NFC and AFC North. Was supposed to have a couple guys on, was supposed to have Chibs on, was supposed to have Spills on, and both bailed last minute. Work is a bitch. That's all you can really say. So I am going to be delivering this one by myself. And as always, we will go over the NFL weekly update. And I guess let's just get into it right now. Starting off with an injury. I think you all know where this is going. Jalen Ramsey has torn his meniscus, or at least partially torn his meniscus. He had surgery to repair it, and it looks like he is out till December-ish. Fucking sucks. It really just fucking sucks. Ramsey, obviously the best player on the Dolphins defense, one of the best corners in the NFL over the last decade. It's a big loss. I can't say anything other than that. We'll have him back for the playoff push, which is big. Still have a lot of faith in this defense, and this just means that guys like Xavier Howard, there can't be kind of a ramp up where him getting back healthy. He needs to be good immediately. Second round Cam Smith has been looking really good in training camp. Maybe he gets that outside spot and we keep Kader Kohu in the nickel, or Darth Kader goes in on the outside and get Nick Needham back his spot in the slot. Either way, we have depth right now in the DB room. What killed us last year in the secondary was injuries. Right now, they're healthy, other than Ramsey. But this Dolphins team should still roll. Our front seven is spectacular. The secondary is still good, even without Ramsey right now. Again, I said it, a lot of it is banking off Xavier Howard having a bounce-back season, being healthy. I believe that he is. Is that me being a Dolphins fan? Of course. It is what it is. Yeah, the Dolphins will still roll. The Dolphins will still make playoffs. We'll have a fully healthy, fresh leg Jalen Ramsey going into the playoff push. Cannot wait. Just sucks we have to wait another September, October, November. 5 months, because I guess August just started. So yeah, another 5 months till we see Jalen Ramsey. Sucks, but he'll be back better than ever. The Dolphins will roll. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor requests a trade. Makes sense, especially after comments from Colts owner Jim Irsay. If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on, we know that. The National Football League rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it. Basically, Jim Irsay is saying that, yeah, Jonathan Taylor, we don't need you. Yeah, you're very good, but we're not going to miss you. Running backs are a dime a dozen. It is what it is. Then another report came up where the Colts might add Jonathan Taylor to the non-football injury list, meaning that if he were to be put on that, miss the whole season, it would not count count as a year against him with his contract, so that year carries over for the next year, meaning he won't be a free agent. I mean, he's going to get franchise tagged anyways, just like any of these guys do. And then, but was going to get put on the non-football injury list, and because of a back injury, according to Jim Irsay, that happened away from the facilities. Jonathan Taylor then tweeted out, never had back pain, never reported any back pain. So just a really bad look from the Colts, from Jim Irsay. I don't know why anyone would want to play there as a player if that's how your owner treats you, and treats you publicly. This isn't something that's happening behind closed doors. He is just openly tweeting about this. Dan Snyder obviously left the NFL last week, and it looks like Jim Irsay is here to take over his mantle as the worst owner in the NFL. Simple as that. As it comes to where Jonathan Taylor could land, he's going to be a Colt. There is no there's no value in the running back market right now. The Colts wouldn't trade him for anything less than a day 2 pick. No one's going to give a day 2 pick given the current running back market. So he'll stay on the Colts. It is what it is. Hopefully the running backs can figure out their whole pay situation, but I think it'll be a while until that happens. We have some extension signings here. Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas signed a 5-year, $117.5 million deal with 67 guaranteed. Absolutely huge for Andrew Thomas, one of the best young tackles in the league right now. And after coming off a very shaky rookie season where his draft class, it was him, it was Jedrick Wills, it was Tristan Wirfs, and Mekhi Becton. And after that rookie year, Thomas was at the bottom. And at the bottom by a lot. He has turned it around. He is absolutely unreal, and definitely deserves every bit of this deal. Next up, we have Cole Kmet getting a 4-year, $50 million deal. Might be a little early to be paying Cole Kmet, but when you're the Bears and you have all this cap space and you don't really have anyone else that contributes much on offense, I think Cole Kmet's solid. So I think this deal, I think it's 12 something a year, which saying Cole Kmet is making more than 90% of running backs in the NFL, objectively hilarious, but the Bears keep their tight end. Simple as that. And one last notable signing anyways, before we get into the little smaller ones I have down, but Vikings edge rusher Danielle Hunter signs a 1-year, $20 million deal, 17 of that guaranteed. I think going into this year, he was only it was only going to be $5 or $7 million that he was owed. And he was holding out for this. There was trade rumors around him. Very smart that they didn't trade him. He gets his money for the 1 year. Hopefully he gets a big extension next offseason. We'll see if it'll be with the Vikings, but the Vikings needed this, and we'll talk about the Vikings soon enough in the NFC North preview. But Danielle Hunter, he's been hurt the last couple years, but he is very, very good when healthy. I'm excited to see what he can do on that Vikings defense. We got some Sean Payton news. So Sean Payton made it very clear that Russell Wilson, not the problem last year. It was all Nathaniel Hackett. And he said, everything I heard about last season, we're doing the opposite. It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. Sean Payton did not mince any words, obviously. He came out after, I think, the next day and basically said he still had I think he was with Fox Sports last year as an analyst, and he still had like his Fox Sports hat on instead of his coaching hat on, and he regrets it and blah, blah, blah. Is he right? Yeah. Hackett was very bad. They had fans in the stands counting down the play clock so he could be more aware and use those timeouts when needed. Aaron Rodgers obviously came to the defense of his offensive coordinator, longtime offensive coordinator, saying you need to keep my coach's name out of your mouth. And Robert Saleh said, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't poppin', so hate away. That is a song lyric from some song that I do not know. I probably know it, but off the top of my head, I have no idea. They play week 5. That should be a very, very fun matchup. We'll see. We'll see if Hackett was that big of a disaster. I mean, he was. Or if Russ and Hackett both played their equal parts, which probably seems more likely than anything. But and one last note for Sean Payton. There is a video circulating around over the last week of him ripping bong with his supposedly 16-year-old sons. I don't know how old the video is. Obviously, one of Payton's son's friends was filming. That guy's a dirtbag who filmed that and leaked it to whoever. Objectively funny video, but he fucking pulled on that thing too. That was a long inhale from the coach. Honestly impressive. So that's the Sean Payton recap for the week. We got another injury. Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick has a torn Achilles. The man cannot catch a break. Obviously, he missed all of last season with some injury, probably a knee injury. Now it's his Achilles. Brutal for him, obviously, after coming off back-to-back 700-plus yard seasons in 2020 and 2021. He has not been on the field. Sucks for the Broncos. KJ Hamler also went down. I'm not sure on his status for long-term or whatever, but right now it's Jerry Jeudy, it's Courtland Sutton again, and those guys also have their injury history, so not looking too great for the Broncos right now. Really sucks for Tim Patrick. I was hoping that we were going to get to see him this year, but it is what it is. Back to some low-level signings here. Eli Apple is now with the Dolphins. Tyreek tweeted out that practice was going to be fun on Monday because obviously Tyreek has torched that man multiple times in his career. People took this as, oh my god, the Dolphins are going to be starting Eli Apple. We should not be starting Eli Apple. We have enough guys who are better, who should play over him. I'm hoping that Cam Smith just takes that outside job and I won't say doesn't look back, but could be doesn't look back because I don't think Xavier Howard is going to be a Dolphin this time next year. And if it's going to be Ramsey and Cam Smith manning the outside, I like the sound of that. But Eli Apple, it's depth. It's, I want to say quality depth, but I know some people will misconstrue that. It's like he's an NFL player. He's I can't even say solid NFL player, but you shouldn't be starting him, but if you need him to come in and play like 30% of the snaps, I don't see what's wrong with that. Eli Apple is a Dolphin. The Texans signed offensive tackle George Fant to back up Tunsil and Titus Howard. George Fant was one of the best remaining offensive linemen on the market. I think this is a very good signing by the Texans, who already have a very good offensive line. But the Texans signed Fant, get some good tackle depth, and now we get some running back visits. Dalvin Cook visited the Jets. His visit is going to be on Hard Knocks whenever that gets put out. Did not come away with a deal because he's going to go to the Dolphins. It's a matter of time. He's stringing us along. The Dolphins will make an offer. I think the Dolphins are kind of interested on Jonathan Taylor, as they have been with every running back this entire offseason, but nothing amounted from the Dalvin Cook Jets visit so far anyways. And Ezekiel Elliott visited the Pats. Would low-key be a pretty decent signing for them. Pierre Strong is their backup right now, and I have been saying that I like Pierre Strong a lot, and I think that Pierre Strong is going to steal Ramondre Stevenson's job because that's just how the Pats' life cycle of running backs work. Zeke as a backup to Ramondre would be great. It's also funny seeing, if you saw that picture of Zeke and Mac Jones at a restaurant sitting on the same side of the table, just looking awkward as fuck, just both staring ahead into the wall. Just a funny picture. A couple last notes just to finish it off. Second year Chiefs wide receiver Justin Ross he's looking impressive. If you don't know the name Justin Ross played for the Clemson Tigers in college football. Was probably going to be one of the best prospects coming out of the draft before a neck injury. I think it was a neck or a back injury. Really derailed his career. It could have been like that's it for him. So he was a UDFA, and now he's slowly making his way back, and he has been making plays all over Chiefs training camp. It is training camp though, and everyone looks good in training camp. There's not any bad tweets being like, this guy, he's not really performing. I feel like every tweet I've seen about the Chiefs training camp this year, everyone's been looking good. All the wide receivers are looking good, but I'm hoping that Justin Ross does come back, does turn it around, does have a really good, productive NFL career. And that would just mean that Justin Ross and Pat Mahomes are going to absolutely torch the league, and I don't know who's ready for that. If we get 90% of what Justin Ross used to be, the league is on notice. That's all I can say. The Arizona Cardinals players are experiencing a culture shock with new head coach Justin Gannon. The Cardinals players are now forced to be on time for meetings and actually study the film and the tape without any outside help from coaches. I know, nuts. How could the coaching staff do this to them? Obviously, this just goes to show that the culture that Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury built over their tenure was absolutely horseshit. They did not know what they were doing. They were in over their head, and Justin Gannon is trying to get people on his schedule doing things the right way. I think this time next year there will be a ton of roster turnover from the Cardinals. Justin Gannon bringing in his guys. But right now, they better be on time for meetings. That's all I can say. And last note up, Bears rookie offensive tackle Darnell Wright. So he was at a presser. They were talking about the conditioning tests and blah, blah, blah. And you could tell he was a little something was up with him. He looked a little embarrassed and he started talking, and apparently, so obviously there's a conditioning test for anyone in the NFL. You have to hit certain standards, and it's different for each position group. Darnell Wright was looking at the wide receiver conditioning test and trained for that. Hit all the standards. He fucking blew it out of the water, or not blew it out of the water, but he met the wide receiver standards, and obviously the offensive linemen do not have the same standards as the wide receivers. Higher times, lower distance, didn't matter for Darnell Wright. So he is in the best shape of his life right now, probably. Not a great look that he didn't realize that he was doing the wide receiver, or he was training for the wide receiver conditioning test, but at least he did it. He's better off for it. Means that any of the offensive linemen should be able to do the wide receiver conditioning test, but just a funny last note there. And yeah, I guess let's get into these division breakdowns. Okay, so for the fourth time, unfortunately, computer sucks. Let's talk about these divisions. This is obviously your first time going through them. I haven't even AFC teams yet, so you'll get other AFC recap, and you probably will for the NFC, because again, I just don't want to talk about these fucking teams anymore. But let's get into it. We'll start off with the 3-14 Chicago Bears from last season, the worst team in the NFL, only for them at number 1. So how I'm going to be doing these breakdowns, I guess I'll get into it. I'm going to be going over the notable additions and losses. This won't be every addition and every loss. It'll just be the guys who I think are notable. Then we'll go over the good of every team, the bad of every team, floor and ceiling. And then at the end of each division, I'll be doing some awards. We'll go breakout, offensive rookie, defensive player, MVP, and then finally division winner. Without further ado, let's talk about the Bears again, but for you, it's the first time. So the notable additions, we got Jay Moore, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Nate Davis, DeMarcus Walker, PJ Walker, Rob Tonyan, Deonta Foreman. Notable loss, David Montgomery and Riley Reif. For the good, quite literally everything got better for them on offense. The offensive line got better. The receiving core got better. The running backs got better. Yeah, I am expecting a much better year from Justin Fields. I honestly think Justin Fields could be a dark horse MVP candidate. I think a lot has to happen for him to be in the MVP race. The Bears would obviously make the playoffs, and their defense would have to be average. We'll talk about that defense more in a bit, but yeah. So we got DJ Moore, who is hopefully finally has a real quarterback for the first time in his career. With absolutely nothing but shit since he has been in Carolina. Hopefully Justin Fields is his guy. About the running back, Khalil Herbert at the start brought over Deonta Foreman, who looked really good for Carolina after CMC got traded to the Niners. And then they drafted Texas running back Roshan Bijan's backup, who looked very good, was a kind of late riser in the processing as he was Bijan's backup. But in his touch that he did get, he made them count. Should be very fun to see who actually leads them in touches after the season, because I honestly don't know. And then when we talk about that offensive line, they got a new right guard in Nate Davis. They drafted Darnell Wright to be the tackle, and just hoping everyone else kind of takes those steps to improve. This is already there. The bad, not a lot to be happy about on the defense. Again, I like the linebackers that they brought in with Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. I'm a fan of Eddie Jackson. I'm a fan of Jalen Johnson. Other than that, there's not a lot. This was definitely the offseason to, we're going to give everything on offense. We're going to get Justin Fields what he needs to show us that he is our franchise guy. He should prove it this year for them. Yeah. Will be the fucking defense off. Let's start tending while Fields is still on his rookie deal. But yeah, and obviously for the Bears to be any good, Fields needs to dramatically improve his passing game. It is not very good. It is basically non-existent. Has he had any help? No. Does he have a ton of help now? Of course. No excuse for him this year. I'm expecting a big year from him. Floor slash ceiling for this team, though. Floor is a top 10 pick, mainly just because of the defense. I think the offense will just score points on people. The ceiling is the playoffs. I think that the NFC is weak enough to have a Jags type run where they improve that quickly fast. I mean, that's basically the same thing, but it is what it is. Next up, we'll go to Lions. Finished 9-8 last year, almost making the playoffs. Needed a couple things to bounce the way. It did not happen. For the notable addition, we got Cam Sutton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, David Montgomery, Emmanuel Mosley, and Marvin Jones. For the notable losses, Jeff Okudah, Jamal Williams, and DJ Chark. Let's talk about the good. So obviously the offense is very good. It was very good last year. That offensive line is fantastic. Jared Goff is great. Amon Roth, the top 20 receiver in the league. But those are the obvious that we know about the Lions offense anyways. I honestly think that the running back room is better than it was last year. Last year, obviously, they had DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. This year, they got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery is honestly an improvement over Jamal Williams, which is nuts to say considering that Jamal, I think, has a franchise record for rushing touchdowns in a season now, which is also insane because Barry Sanders was that team's running back for a decade, and we all know how good Barry Sanders is. But David Montgomery will just take over that role, be either red zone guy, be either Henderson, because Gibbs is obviously not that guy, because Gibbs is tiny, Gibbs is a burner, Gibbs will line up all over the field for them. He is more of a weapon than Swift is, and I think Swift is a weapon, but I think that the versatility that Gibbs gives you at the wide receiver position especially is huge. And for them, they drafted Sam Laporta out of Iowa. He is penciled in as their starter right now, according to ESPN. For some reason, Iowa tight ends are just yak guys. George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, who was obviously their last where they traded him, Laporta to replace TJ Hawkinson. I like Sam Laporta a lot. Should be good. Defense has drastically gotten better with all of the additions that they made. They got 3 new starters in the secondary. They drafted Brian Branch, who will be kind of a jack all trades for them in their secondary. And then they drafted Jack Campbell, who is penciled in as their starter right now, who was just an athletic freak, do it all at linebacker. Very, very excited to see him play. Let's talk about the bad, though. The bad, Jameson Williams suspended for the first 6 games. Obviously, it didn't really matter for them last year, but they expected to have him for a full season, and the dude decided to gamble at the team's facility. Not very smart. And even there's some notes in training camp where he's kind of just pissed off at himself, very frustrated at himself. It is what it is. He'll have 6 weeks to get his mind right and be ready for, I guess, week 7. And the defense has drastically improved, and they have. The Lions' defense was shit last year. It is much better now, but it still isn't. I think the secondary is better, but it is still like okay, above average maybe. Aiden Hutchinson is the only like real. How do I say this? Aiden Hutchinson's the only star that they have on that defense. People can argue maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't really see it. Did lead the league in interceptions last year, but I think Aiden Hutchinson's the only guy with true superstar ability on this team. I think he does hit another level this year too, but the defense is still just kind of like okay. My floor / ceiling for the Lions is just the playoffs. I think NFC is bad enough for the Lions to make it as a wild card team. I do think that I won't say that right now, but you probably know what I was going to say. So yeah, floor and ceiling for Lions is the playoffs. I don't see how they miss playoffs unless dramatic injuries happen. Moving over now, the Vikings who wildly overachieved last season with a 13-4 record. I think they had like 11 one-score games, and they won all 11 of those games, which is absolutely nuts. I mean, they set records for overachieving, which is hilarious. The notable additions of the Vikings this year: Marcus Davenport, Byron Murphy, Josh Oliver, and Dean Lowry. Notable losses, buckle up. There's a lot of them, and they're all good. These are all very good names. Pat Pete, Za'Darius Smith, Delvin Cook, Eric Kendricks, Dalvin Tomlinson, Irv Smith Jr., and Adam Thielen. Let's start talking about the good. I don't think that this offense skips beat. I think where they won. Yes, is that a big loss as their receiver? It is, but they also drafted Jordan Addison to replace him. Be better than Adam Thielen right now. Obviously, Jordan Addison has not played single yet in the NFL. All that he has done is go joyriding his car and get pulled by cops. So not a great start to his career, but is what it is. But the offense should still roll. I got a little questions at the running back position, but we'll talk about that in the bad. Brian Flores at defensive coordinator is an absolute home run hire. People might be thinking, I thought you hate Brian Flores. I do. I hate Brian Flores as the head coach. He is not a good head coach. Is he a great defensive coordinator? You're absolutely right. He is. And he has his work cut out for this team. But he is fine at edge rusher because right now Marcus Davenport and Danielle Hunter are a very nice edge rush duo. Hunter just his bag for the season. He will be motivated to hopefully have a career year for him. Marcus Davenport is the edge. So never lived up to his draft ability since the Saints gave up an extra first-round pick for him, but I do really like the edge duo. The bad. The defense obviously still has a lot of holes. I think the really only bona fide starters, guys that you know are good NFL players, good or better NFL players. Davenport, Hunter, Jordan Hicks, Harrison Smith. That's kind of it. They have a lot of young players in the secondary who need to improve. We'll see. Brian Flores is up to the challenge to coach those guys up. And then, yeah, at the running position, Alexander Mattison is obviously taking over from Dalvin Cook. Mattison, early on when Dalvin Cook went down to start his career, he has not looked as good in the last seasons, and he is pulled in as the starter, and behind him is not a lot. So if Mattison is not their guy, might be a tough year of running for the Vikings. And yeah, this team is going to regress naturally. They were 13-4 last year, as I've been saying. They were closer to a 9-8 team, probably if they did go. I mean, literally all the luck bounced their way. And for Vikings fans who don't have a lot of luck, last year you fell up on a meaningless year. Sorry to say. But they're going to regress naturally. So I think the floor / ceiling for this team is, I think, around 500. And when I say around 500, I mean 9-8, 8-9, 7-10, that range. And then your ceiling is playoffs. I still think the defense will be very good. I do think Brian Flores has the ability to coach up this defense to where they want it to be. It's just average and the offense is above. You never know. Last team up for the NFC North, we have the 8-9 Green Bay Packers. Very disappointing finish from them after multiple NFC Championship games the last few years. When it comes to additions, not available. They didn't make a single notable move this offseason. When it's notable losses, Aaron Rodgers, Jaron Reed, Alan Lazard, Dean Lowry, Adrian Amos, and Rob Tonyan. Obviously, a huge loss is Aaron Rodgers. And we'll talk about that, but not now. The good, this is still very, very strong. Still has some strong pieces, a lot of young pieces on it too. For the bona fide good to great starters, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, Devondre Campbell, Jair Alexander. There's more than I sing that I've Preston Smith, Rasul Douglas. There's more. I've said these names so much at this point. I'm so done with this division. I never want to talk about the NFC North again. The defense is still very strong, and they still have a lot of good, young, ascending talent potentially with guys like Devontae Wyatt, who they drafted last year, Quay Walker, who they drafted last year. They drafted Lucas Van Ness this year to help with the pass rush rotation. I love Aaron Jones at running back. I have listed down with the great RB duo. I'm rescinding that. Aaron Jones is fantastic. AJ Dillon, you got a lot to prove this year. I don't deserve last year. Do I still think the talent is there? Of course. Just look at those fucking odds that he has, but needs to be better. But I still like their run game. Aaron Jones is fantastic. And there are young weapons there. Christian Watson scored a lot of touchdowns in a lot of the games last year. I think he had like 7 touchdowns in like 9 games or something like that. Something stupid. He is very good. I like Romeo Doubs. And Luke Musgrave at tight end. I think I had him listed down as one of my like athletic freaks going to the combine, people to watch. If you don't know, he's 6'6", runs about a 4.5 40. They will be using him very much. So I think young weapons are good. I think kind of what happened with the Packers last year is Aaron Rodgers does not trust young receivers whatsoever. I mean, you can just see it. He brought over Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. For some reason, Randall Cobb is still a thing in the NFL. The guy's like wide receiver 5 on any team right now. I don't know why. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers' friend. That's why he's on the Jets right now. Simple as that. But yeah, that's partly why the Packers failed last year. Rodgers didn't. He did just to whip up a scheme. He didn't have Hackett around to bully and do what he wants. So, yeah. When I'm talking about the bad for the Packers, it is one listed Jordan Love. Now, that's not Jordan Love is bad. That's Jordan Love ?
again, I was explaining it last week where the Packers seem to do this thing where they have really, really good quarterback, MVP quarterback, a guy who wins a Super Bowl. They'll draft a rookie first round. They'll sit him. They'll wait, bide their time. And eventually that old vet moves on to the Jets. His career fizzles out, and this young quarterback comes in and brings it. Jordan Love can do that again. It would absolutely not the Packers to have like 3 straight days of a franchise quarterback. Do I think Jordan Love can do it? I have no idea. We haven't really seen him play. He's been in the league for 3 years. He's probably played in like a total of 3, most of those meaning snap. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the people around him to bring out that talent. But my floor/ceiling team, top 10 pick. Again, they're relying on a lot of these young guys on offense to take that next step. We'll see if it doesn't happen. Top 10 pick. I can also see the Packers making the playoffs. Apparently, I can see every team in this division making the playoffs. But yeah, let's get into the awards. Starting off with the breakout player, I got Vikings corner Andrew Booth Jr. Andrew Booth is a man corner. Brian Flores runs a man system. Whoever it was like Ed Donatel. Ed Donatel does not run. I think it was the old Vikings defense coordinator. Runs his own system. Did not help out Andrew Booth whatsoever. The Vikings are really hoping that Andrew Booth becomes their corner number 1. I think he does. I think Flores is going to bring out the best in him, and he is my breakout player for this division. Rookie of the year, I could have went with Jordan Addison, except I'm going with Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, I think Gibbs is going to be an absolute weapon for this team. They will be lining him up all over the field. I'm interested to see what he can do. He is the offensive rookie of the year. For defensive rookie of the year, we got Lions linebacker Jack Campbell. Again, athletic freak. He will be all over the field doing everything for them. Helps that his uncle is the coach. That's obviously not true, but to say that, I mean, Jack Campbell's playing for Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell absolutely loves the way that he plays. It's probably a huge fan of him. Campbell, rookie of the year. Off the year, pretty obvious, but we're going to go with Justin Jefferson because, again, I don't think the Vikings offense will fall off, and why would Justin Jefferson fall off? So Justin Jefferson, pretty self-explanatory, offensive player of the year. For defensive player of the year, I need to go with Aiden Hutchinson. I'm expecting a very big season from Aiden Hutchinson, even though he already had a spectacular season. I'm just expecting a little bit better. I think with that improved secondary that the Lions have will force opposing quarterbacks to hold on to the ball just a little bit longer, and that's just a little bit longer for Aiden Hutchinson to get those sacks. MVP of the division, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. Again, I think Justin Fields, if you listen to my quarterbacks episode from last week, you know that I'm projecting him to be a top 10 quarterback going into next season. He's going to be good. He's the guy around him this year. It's honestly a fun division. It's a division I don't really know what's going to happen. Again, I do have all of these teams ceiling as potential playoff teams. Obviously, that won't happen, but my division winner, I kind of a little bit spoiled it, but it will be the Detroit Lions. Oh my God, finally done with the NFC. I'm now recording Zoom instead because I know that Zoom is going to save my fucking thing instead of my dumbass Chromebook. Yeah, you can probably sense my voice. I'm a little frustrated. I've technically been almost recording for 2 hours now, so this is fun. Let's go to the AFC North here. First time to rank a little bit something different to talk about finally. Let's start off with the Cleveland Browns. Finished 7-10 last year. Jacoby Brissett looked great for them. Deshaun Watson came in, the nasty man, the predator, and absolutely stunk up the joint. He looked terrible. Yeah, let's get into some notable additions for them. They added Delvin Tomlinson, Juan Thornhill, Zadarius Smith, Elijah Moore, and Ogbonia Okoronkwo. Notable losses, Jacoby Brissett, and I wouldn't even really say that's notable, but Jacoby Brissett is a guy. He's a name that we know. For the good for the Browns, the defense has improved dramatically. And that's not even like just with who they got. They have a new defense coordinator, Jim Schwartz, I believe it is Jim Schwartz. They got rid of Joe Woods, who is absolutely horrible. And I'm looking at this team. They've got, Myles Garrett, stud, Dalvin Tomlinson, good starter, Zadarius Smith, older, very pass rusher, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, very good young linebacker, Denzel Ward at corner, one of the best corners in the game, Grant Delpit, Juan Thornhill at safety, and then Greg Newsome, they're hoping has a breakout year for them after a couple hurt years. The defense is good. The defense is much better. They were absolute shit stopping the run last year. That's why they brought in Dalvin Tomlinson. That's why they drafted Siaki Ika, who they drafted, who is like big nose tackle, 330-pound guy. They got guys to stop the run. They have guys to cover. The defense should be much, much improved. And when we're talking about the offensive line, very good weapons. Nick Chubb, Amari, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell, who's a backup for them now. It quite literally, talk about the good. I'll just talk about Elijah a little bit. I really like Elijah Moore. I think he will be huge for this team. They have him penciled in as the second wide receiver. He will be in the slot with Cooper and DPJ on the outside. Let's get into the bad. They don't have any depth on offense whatsoever. They don't have a good backup running back. The wide receivers, once you get past Cooper, we got a bunch of question marks. Like Elijah Moore, again, I really like him, but he is a question mark. We don't know what we're going to get from him. I'm expecting good things, but again, it's a question mark. Donovan Peoples-Jones, solid. Really all it is. After that, they got a bunch of really. The offensive line, same thing. They got good starters, and after that, not a lot of depth on the offensive line. It is. And Deshaun Watson obviously needs to be Deshaun Watson for any of this to work. If it's the Deshaun Watson we saw last year, they're going to flame out horribly, and I hope they do. I hope that he flames out horribly. Fuck Deshaun Watson, that guy. Yeah, so the Browns offense, a lot of potential. Browns defense, a lot of potential. I think another big thing for Browns is Stefanski has to figure out the identity on offense. When Brissett was the quarterback, it was we're going to run the ball, we're going to pass the ball when it counts, when it hurts you the most. But they were a run-first team. When the nasty man came back, they decided to pass the ball way more, and the team suffered greatly because of it. And I hope they keep suffering. Floor/ceiling for this team. The floor is around 500. I think even if Watson is terrible, I think that the defense is much better, and Nick Chubb at the running back position will still carry. So they'll be around 500, probably close to where they finished last year with that 7-10 record. The ceiling is obviously playoffs. If everything goes right for this team, this could be a very dangerous team. Could win the division. That's saying a lot, though. A lot would need to go their way, and the Ravens and Bengals would need something to happen to them for them to fall off that much. But done with the Browns. Moving on to the Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers finished 9-8 last year. Mike Tomlin with another winning record. Has never had a losing record in his career. Still fucking insane. For the notable additions for the Steelers this offseason, we have Isaac Seumalo, Cole Holcomb, Al Robinson, Pat Pete, and Nate Herbig. And the notable losses: Cam Sutton, Devin Bush, and Terrell Edmonds. Let's talk about the good. The huge improvement to the offensive line. Obviously, they brought in Isaac Seumalo. Then they drafted Broderick Jones to be their left tackle. And the other guys who they have penciled in are solid. They just need to keep improving. They brought Nate Herbig in also up right guard. He might start for them. They might move James Daniels in at center. I don't know. Either way, line much, much better than it was last year. So many weapons also. So many weapons. They got there. Also pretty good in his touches that he get. Deontay Johnson, Pickens, who was just highlight or highlight some of the training we've been so far insane. Allen Robinson, third wide receiver. Wilson Robinson has left in the tank. And then tight end Pat Freiermuth, who I absolutely love. Biggest draft right in this Washington as their backup tight end. Will basically just be the sixth offensive lineman for them when he is up there. The offense is good. The defense might be even better, especially when you look at that front seven there. Larry Ogunjobi, Keon Benton, they just drafted also. Cam, J. Watt, Alex Hyde. It's really good. He's really fucking good. Secondary. I don't have some questions, but talk about the bad. And when I say the bad, it's not really just more questions and concerns. But the secondary, Pat Pete is old. Joey Porter Jr. is a rookie. Do I think Pat Pete still has it? Little bit. I don't think he's he's obviously not the lockdown corner he was, but he is still solid. Joey Porter Jr. will have to produce immediately for them. Obviously, they got Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary to make up of that. But will be a good team. The team will go as far as Kenny Pickett takes them, though. Kenny Pickett, not a good quarterback last year, did not show a whole lot. He literally has absolutely no excuse. There is not, like, offensive line still has questions. Obviously, Broderick Jones, rookie left. We never know what to expect. They still got some questions, but Kenny Pickett, the offensive line is better. Their weapons are so good. The team will go as far as Pickett goes, and I don't think that's very far, unfortunately. And the other bad for them is Matt Canada is still their offensive play caller, who has proven he is not very, very good at his job. I don't know why he's still hanging around. I think with Tomlin being the head coach for some of these are his guys, it's hard to kind of move on from someone who you have that relationship with for such a long time. But Matt Canada needs to do fucking something because they have too many weapons for even if Kenny Pickett does suck, they should still be better than last year. And last year they were 9-8. This was a 9-8 team, and I say that they're going to get better, and I still have Forrest last ceiling hovering around 500, probably above 500, probably 9-8 again because Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin. The ceiling though is playoffs. Again, it's so hard. There's so many good teams this year. The AFC North has, I literally all of the teams that I'm talking about this year, I could see in the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. Let's talk about the teams that have been good for a while in this division, though, and we will start. We'll start with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens finished 10-7 last year with so many injuries. So many injuries happened to them last year. Still finished 10-7. Had Tyler Huntley at quarterback for them and almost beat the Bengals in that playoff game if it wasn't for a fumble on the goal line that would give them the lead. For the notable additions for the Ravens this season, we have Odell Beckham Jr. and cornerback Rock Ya-Sin. For the notable losses, we got Ben Powers, Marcus Spears, Chuck Clark, and Chris Campbell. Let's talk good. These are the best weapons Lamar has had in his career. J.K. Dobbins, hopefully healthy at running back. Gus, healthy at running back. They got Rashad Bateman first. Needing him. OBJ needs something from him. They drafted Zay Flowers, absolutely love. Mark Andrews at tight end will still be the number one option. And the offensive line is still very, very good. This is a very good team. I'm expecting 2019 Lamar to make a return. He is still a top 5 quarterback for me. I'm expecting him in the MVP race all season if his team stays healthy. And they got wide receiver too, like Devin Duvernay and Nelson Lower. Not bad. Former first round pick Laquan Treadwell making an appearance. Funny, actually. Yeah, the offense is good. The offense is something best Lamar has had with. Defense is still stacked. The defense was absolutely last year was the reason they almost beat the Bengals in that game. Not a lot on it, but a lot of players who need to take that step up, especially at edge. And I'll talk about one of those guys in a bit, but keep him listed for now. But yeah, the defense is really fucking good. I think they honestly upgraded Marcus Peters with Rockison. I think Rockison and Mark Humphrey will be a very good core tandem. Kyle Hamilton, Mark Williams, studs. Roquan Smith, stud. Michael Pierce, stud. They just got to hook these young guys step up with Odafe Owa, as some people call him, David Jabo, Justin Mabuki. Lots of talent Ravens team. Bad. Literally just one needs to state that is beacon for the Ravens last several years. If everyone healthy, they will be good. They will be good. The floor of this team is miss playoffs, and this is different than around 500. Consider around 598. I think there's going to be that can potentially go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, or it could end up being that everyone is so good in the AFC where we see, let's say the Chiefs are the 1 seed again and they finish with an 11-6 record as 1 seed. Could happen. Yeah, my ceiling for them, Super Bowl chance. If everything goes right for this team, if everyone stays healthy, this is the best rosters in football. The Super Bowl should not be out of their grasp. Okay, last team up in the AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals. 12-4 last year. Very, very, very good year. Fell short to Chiefs. I'm remembering that right. Yeah, fell short to the Chiefs in that AFC Championship game, I should say. And they're looking to back. Notable additions for the Bengals this offseason: Orlando Brown Jr. or Smith Jr. and Nick Scott. The notable losses: Jesse Bates, Von Bell, and Hayden Hurst. Talk about the good. This is the best O-line that the Bengals have had on paper since Joe Burrow has started his career there. And I say on paper because we still don't really know. Orlando Brown Jr. took less money to be paid as a left tackle, which is interesting. But he's their left tackle. Cordell Volce, their left guard. That is a weak spot. Ted Karras and Alex Kappa at center. Solid. They're NFL starters anyways. Jonah Williams is moving over to right tackle, and have Lyle Collins, who is hurt right now, who will be back. I don't know if they'll trade him. I doubt they trade him, but Lyle Collins could be playing that guard spot when he comes back. Yeah. Obviously, the weapons in Joe Burrow are always great. Again, I think this might be the best offense that Joe Burrow Bengals have had since he has been in the league. God, I have the sunshine right in my face now. That's what happens when you record 2 hours, even though this is 2. The offense is obviously still good. Joe Burrow is an MVP candidate. Chase is one of the best. T. Higgins is a wide receiver in his team. Tyler Boyd is a wide receiver 2, and he's a wide receiver 3 on this. They brought back Joe. They got Joe Mixon to take a pay cut. He's back. They lost Samaje Perine, who I probably should have listed that as a notable loss. Lost Samaje Perine, but they drafted Chase Brown, who I do like a lot, and I think could contend with Joe Mixon for touches. It's a very good offense. Last guy I'll talk about on offense, Irv Smith Jr., who has not broken out yet with the Vikings. has been hurt a lot. Maybe this is where he does it, because after that, it's not a lot of guys. I got a bunch of names. I mean, Mitchell Wilcox, Drew Sample, Patriots, Levin, CSC. I'm probably saying that wrong. Let's see. What else do I have good things to say about the Bengals? Oh, yeah, their front seven. Wait, hold on. They got a wide receiver on their team named Mac Hippenhammer. What a crazy name. Let's talk the defense, though. The front seven, absolutely incredible. Sam Hubbard on one end, DJ Reed, one of the most defensive in the league, is the building block for them. DJ Hill, Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson at linebacker, Jermaine Pratt, middle linebacker, Akeem Davis, that other linebacker spot. The front seven is very, very good. And the Bengals need this front seven to be very, very good, because the secondary, and this is the bad thing I have for the Bengals, secondary is worrisome. They need their young players to immediately turn around, be good. Chidobe Awuzie, solid, I guess. Cam Taylor looked good in his spots, but let's see what he can do as probably their number one corner this year. Dax Hill, who they drafted last year, he needs to have a big season, because, the Bengals lost both of their starting safeties, Jesse Bates and Von Bell, and they're replacing them with Nick Scott and Dax Hill. So I think this is my concern with the Bengals every single offseason is I don't trust their defense that much. The offense is so good, but this is the year I'm finally being Lou Anarumo, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, should be getting a head coaching job soon. I'm expecting the defense should still roll. That front seven will still be great. Secondary does give you pause for concern. I think any rational Bengals fan should all be like, yeah, that's fair to say. The floor/ceiling. The floor for them is a playoff team. Again, I think it would be very hard for the Bengals to miss the playoffs. I mean, it would take a Joe Burrow injury for them to miss playoffs. I don't think that there's any other guy on the team who could get hurt that would hurt them that bad. Hurt a lot. I don't think it would be a detrimental, but I think the defense would take a ceiling is obviously Super Bowl champs. Could it happen? Yeah. Do I have teams who I think are Super Bowl this year? Also, yeah. Yeah, and I guess let's just get into the AFC North awards. I scrolled way too far over there. Starting with breakout player. This is the guy who I didn't want to mention on the Ravens, David Ojabo. David Ojabo was going to be a first-round pick last season before tearing, I think, his Achilles. But I'm expecting him to have a huge year on the Ravens. I think that him and Odafe Oweh are going to form a great young edge tandem that they really need for the Ravens, because that secondary is absolutely loaded. My offensive rookie of the year, I got Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers by the year will be the Ravens wide receiver one. Just because OBJ, I think OBJ is fine, but I don't think OBJ is a wide receiver one anymore. And Rashad Bateman is just going to get replaced by Zay Flowers, because we have not seen anything from Rashad Bateman, and he is going to have to earn all of his touches, and Zay Flowers is going to steal his touches. Simple as that. For defensive rookie of the year, we got Steelers corner Joey Porter Jr. This is also kind of the case where I don't really know who else to pick here, because not a lot of defensive rookies that I could really pick. So Joey Porter Jr. will be starting, following in his dad's footsteps. We'll see what he can do. Offensive player of the year, Jamar Chase. Pretty simple, honestly. Best receiver of this division, the guy that Joe Burrow trusts the most, his college teammate. He's going to go off. Simple as that. He always does. They always do. Defensive player of the year, it's a toss-up. I have Myles Garrett. I'm thinking of TJ Watt. Honorable mention DJ here. Boom. It's so tough. I think God, both fronts are really good. Both defensive lines are really good. Flip a coin in my head. Let's just say it is Myles Garrett's turn to finally win a Defensive Player of the Year award. Yeah. I think whoever wins Defensive Player in this division, I don't know, because Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons are Defensive Player of the Year. Pretty self-explanatory. He's just very good at football. He is very good at sacking the quarterback. For the MVP of this division, I'm going to go with Lamar. I have Joe Burrow listed down here. God, it's so tough. It's so tough. Sorry for that big pause. But I think Joe Burrow is going to have an absolutely terrific year. But Lamar also, I think, he's going to have a terrific year with the guys that he has around them. Yeah. Either way, one of those two guys, MVP of the division, and for my division winner, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They've won it the last couple of years. That offense is really good. The offensive line is better. I trust that defense. Yeah. Bengals winning the AFC North division. Okay, well, that'll do it for this episode. This took way too long to record. We are now sitting at 2 hours and 15 minutes recording, even though this could be like an hour and 10-minute podcast. Maybe even shorter than that. Either way, I am very done. I am very tired. I am very excited that tomorrow night, or I guess Thursday night, but when you're listening to this, hopefully on Wednesday, because you should all be downloading and listening to me immediately because that's how special I am. Oh, God, I'm tired. Okay, I'm going to end it here. If you've liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until next time, peace.